Stuart Varney is a very pompous Fox Business host, and he did a segment here where he's going to talk about the minimum wage, and man, his his take on it is as odious as it gets.
I think this is a tragedy. Because all those entry-level positions are going because some people now get $15 an hour. You with me?
I'm with you 100%. It's all done under the guise of helping the working man. What about the guy who loses his job? How much should they help him? And I'm going from here, interestingly enough, Stuart, to a meeting of the Employment Policies Institute. They're coming up to New York to meet in my facility with a bunch of New York City restaurateurs to talk about this thing and what can we do, because they're only hurting, they're damaging the industry. The whole focus in the restaurant industry, casual dining, fast food, is how do we go laborless? There are restaurants opening with no labor. You go in and you just do everything in a kiosk. And you open, like the old automatic, you open up a thing on the wall and you pull your food out. You don't see a soul. Going laborless, not less labor, laborless. And the more anything costs, obviously, the more you want to see what you can do with technology to substitute that cost.
And this is all the result of regulatory changes like 100%. Obamacare and the $15 per hour. That's
we're
it.
100%. Stuart, we're all about the experience, service, hospitality. The word hospitality is not a kiosk and a hole in a wall to pull your food out. That's not hospitable.
But you're
That's
never
sterile.
you're never going to get any administration or any local government to lower the minimum wage again.
It has happened. Yes, it was, I forget what, maybe Oregon, where they passed it and then they withdrew it. They took it back because there was a backlash. I can tell you the servers don't like it. The people who are the recipient of this increase don't like it because they all feel that their job security has now been tampered with.
Yeah. Do tips go down?
No, because it doesn't affect tips. It's all on the employer, the $15.
Yeah, but if I walk into a restaurant and I know that the waiter or waitress is making $15 an hour, way more than they used to make the previous year, I'm going to think, oh, wait a minute, are you going to give me, am I going to give you 20%, 15%, or 10% or whatever?
Stuart, we haven't seen that as of yet. Okay. It's an interesting observation, and it might be down the road, but this is all sort of brand new right now.
First of all, you jackass, that's the point. They say now, okay, we're going to pay them a living wage so you don't have to tip. And waiters used to make less than the minimum wage anyway. So there's a minimum wage, which is $7.25 an hour federally. And then there's a even lower one than that applied to waiters, which is, it's like $2 or $3 or something an hour. And then you're supposed to make virtually all of your money from tips. So when you take somebody's pay from like $2 or $3 an hour and you kick it all the way up to $15 an hour, guess what? Without people tipping, they're still going to make way more money. So the tips wouldn't have made up for that. They wouldn't have made more than $15 an hour in the first place in the overwhelming majority of situations. And again, so the restaurants will tell you, oh, hey, by the way, we're a tipless restaurant. We pay all of our staff a living wage, so you don't have to tip. But Stuart Varney's presenting it as if it's like, I got them. Like, oh, you now pay them a living wage? Well, I guess I won't tip then. Yeah, that's the point. That's why a lot of places are going to a living wage. It's not only good for the employees, it's also good for the people who come there where you don't have to worry about tipping. I mean, tipping is a weird thing. Listen, I'm a big tipper, but tipping is a weird thing where it's like, okay, you're going to go somewhere and get something, and then after you get that thing, you also just give more money to somebody there too. What? I'm coming to buy that thing, not to buy that thing and then give money to somebody else that's part of this transaction or something. Why not put that amount of money into the transaction? I just always thought tipping was weird. It's like two separate charges at the same place for one thing. It's like, no, just put it all into the fucking thing. You know? So they also talk about automation at one point. And he's like, well, this is what's happening. You got the higher wages is going to lead to automation. No, that's a lie. Automation is happening anyway. That they're acting like, well, see, if you pay people a living wage, the horror of that, we're going to get rid of them, replace them with machines. No, you're replacing them with machines no matter what. The whole trend in the economy is towards automation, regardless of wages. So that's just a lie. It's a lie to give a rationalization, an excuse, a justification for continuing to pay people less than a living wage. And then at one point, he argues, well, we should lower the minimum wage. Oh, God, here we go. This is how Fox Business hosts think, just so everybody understands. Because some people are naive enough to genuinely believe that Republicans and right-wingers are like, what do you mean? These are the people who want to fight for the working class. This is the argument they made during the tax bill. They were like, well, we want to lower your taxes. That's what we're for the working class because we want to lower your taxes. Again, that's a lie because the tax bill ends up raising taxes on everybody who makes $75,000 a year or less over a 10-year period. So they're raising taxes, but that's the argument they made. Working class, we're for the working class. Is that for the working class? We want to lower the minimum wage. Oh, how kind you are to workers, to people who aren't making that much money, to regular people. We want to lower your wage. Unbelievable. And then let me show you this article here because this is really important and it directly rebuts one of their claims. The evidence is clear. Increasing the minimum wage doesn't cost jobs. Increases to the minimum wage do one thing, make life better for the low paid. They don't cause unemployment no matter what big business says. So that's one study. There's actually been multiple studies on this. What happens is they did this at the state level too. They went to certain states that raised their minimum wage and they found that there was either no change to the unemployment rate, or if anything, the unemployment rate went down in certain circumstances. Right now, people are actually underpaid. So if you tied wages to productivity, the minimum wage would be over $21 an hour today. So what's happening is right now in the marketplace, workers at the lower end of the spectrum are underpaid. They're actually being artificially paid a lower rate. Because again, tied to productivity, it's over $21 an hour. Instead, they're producing about $21 an hour worth of services, but they're only getting paid $7.25 in many cases. So there's another reason why if you raise it, you don't see an uptick in unemployment. And Australia, this is the example that crushes all bullshit arguments against raising the minimum wage. Australia has about an $18 minimum wage. How they doing? Is it some giant hellscape with unemployment of 19% and everybody struggling? No, not at all. They have an employment rate about 5%, 5.5%, totally normal unemployment rate, and they have an $18 minimum wage. So it's not, the argument is just not true. It's just not true to say, oh my God, it'd be terrible, it would destroy the economy and it would hurt workers. Can you imagine they're really trying to make that case? Giving millions of workers a raise just so that they can afford necessities and they can live. That's terrible for workers somehow. What? I mean, you want to talk about building an impossible case. That's what that is. That's an impossible case to build. And just remember, it's the year's 2018, and on Fox Business, what they're doing is they're arguing that if you work full-time, you shouldn't make enough money to survive. That's a position that they're taking on Fox Business in 2018. You should have to work full-time and not make enough money to survive. So, okay, wage slavery is what you're advocating for. That's fine, but let's just call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. What you're advocating for is wage slavery, and you think that's like somehow an intellectual position. It's not an intellectual position. It's a ridiculous position. It's a dumb position, and it's a callous position.